Welcome to Commander Tilt. My name is Clark. Just a little bit about this channel. I do custom Commander decks as well as Magic the Gathering decks. I put them together and then I play them against themselves in a bracket style tournament with the idea of trying to find which deck is the best, most synchronized, and also just trying to find fun and cool interactions. By doing these kind of contests and playing the decks, I've actually been able to discover combos and synergies, and I just really enjoy playing Magic. And so this is just a way for me to get that outlet out. Today we're focusing on Rush. Rush is a new format. It was proposed by Mark Rosewater, and there's a Reddit feed on it. The idea of Rush is it's going to be a 30-card deck with only 10 life. Each turn, you're going to discard your entire hand to the bottom of the deck and draw 5 new cards. It is important to note in the rules, though, that you only draw your first card, and the next 4 cards are additions to your hand. They're not technically called draws. And how that's important is, for example, a card like Lore Scale Coatl, which says for each card draw, add a +1/+1 counter. So that would get really out of hand if you drew 5 cards a turn, you know, 5+5/+5 each turn. It would be monstrous, but the rules are very specific that it's only 1 card draw. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and get started on today's battles, and let's see how it goes. Okay, I'm going to roll dice to see who goes first. It looks like the Azorius deck gets to go first. Azorius will play a Plains, and tapping the Plains, put down a Judge's Familiar and pass the turn. Simic will put down a Forest, and then tapping the Forest, put down a Slippery Boggle and pass the turn. Azorius will untap, put down an Island, and then tapping 2 mana will play Pride of the Clouds. It gets a +1/+1 counter because of the Judge's Familiar. Move into combat, we'll swing with the Judge's Familiar and pass the turn. Simic will put down an Island, and then tapping 2 mana will play Shamble Shark and pass the turn. No opportune attacks there. Azorius will untap. Putting down a Plains, we'll tap 3 mana for Invocation of St. Traft, attaching it to the Pride of Clouds. Moving to combat, we'll swing with both creatures, which triggers Invocation of St. Traft. An angel will appear, pumping Pride of Clouds to a 3/3. All the damage gets through for a total of 8, and Simic is left with 1 life left. The angel vanishes, Pride of Clouds goes back down to a 2/2, and we'll pass the turn. Simic will untap. Simic puts down a Forest, and then taps 3 mana for Trigon Predator, a flying blocker. That triggers the Evolve trigger on the Shamble Shark, and with no blockers, I'll attack with the Slippery Boggle and the Shamble Shark, doing 4 damage. And I'll pass the turn. Azorius untaps, put down an Island. Next, we're going to tap the mana for Depose, and tap target creature, tapping the Trigon Predator and allowing us to draw a card. It doesn't really matter. Move into combat, we'll swing with both our flyers, which triggers Invocation of St. Traft. We do enough damage for lethal, and Azorius wins the first match. This time Simic goes first, puts down a Forest and then a Slippery Boggle as its first play, and we'll pass the turn. Azorius puts down a Plains and passes with no 1-drops. Simic will put down a Forest. Couldn't find any blue, and with nothing to cast, we'll attack with the Slippery Boggle and pass the turn. Azorius puts down a Plains, taps 1 mana for Judge's Familiar, and then passes the turn. Simic will untap, putting down our 3rd Forest. We pass the turn with no good attacks. Azorius puts down an Island. Moving to combat, we'll swing with our 1/1 flyer, dealing 1 damage. Next, we'll tap 2 mana for Azorius Charm, redacting that previous attack and saying that we got lifelink on the Eagle just so we don't have to discard it, and then we'll pass the turn. Simic gets an Island. Finally got 2 colors in play. We'll tap 3 mana for Beetleform Mage, a 2/2 that can become a flyer. We'll attack with the Slippery Boggle because there's no blockers, and pass the turn. Azorius will untap. Azorius taps all of its mana for Dovin, Hand of Control. It comes in with 5 loyalty counters, but will immediately -1 it, and the Beetleform Mage cannot cause any damage. We'll swing with the Judge's Familiar, but then we forget the Beetleform Mage can still block, but it just doesn't do any damage, so it just kind of bounces off each other. Simic will play an island, and then we'll tap all the mana necessary for Lore Scale Coatl. Moving to combat, we'll swing the Slippery Boggle at Dovin and pass the turn. Azorius will untap. Azorius will play an island, and then we'll downtick Dovin, saying the Beetleform Mage cannot do damage once again, and pass the turn. Simic will untap. We'll put down an island for our turn, and then we'll go ahead and tap the mana for a morph creature. Comes on to play as a 2/2. And at that point, I remember I drew a card, so the Lore Scale Coatl should be a 2/2. We'll swing with the Slippery Boggle and the Snake. The Snake will hit Dovin for 2, and the Slippery Boggle will go straight to the face of Azorius for 1. Simic passes the turn. Azorius will put down a Plains. Next, we're going to pay the mana for Invocation of St. Traff, attaching it to Judge's Familiar. We'll go ahead and swing with the Falcon, and then we'll tap 2 mana for Depose, again tapping Beetleform Mage and drawing a card. The Angel appears because of Invocation of St. Traff, and we'll do 5 damage. Then the Angel disappears, and Azorius passes the turn. Drawing another card, Lore Scale Coatl goes up to a 3/3. We'll put down an island on Simic's side of the board. Next, we're going to pay the mana to flip over the morph creature, which was a Sagu Mauler. It's a 6/6 with trample and hexproof. Next, we're going to tap 2 mana, pumping Beetleform Mage to a 4/4 flyer, and swinging with everything, we hit with 14 damage. And Simic wins the second battle. On the third battle, I did roll dice to see who would go first, and Azorius won. Azorius puts down an island. Simic puts down a forest. Second turn, Azorius puts down a Plains. We've got both of our colors, so we'll tap 2 mana for Pride of the Clouds and pass the turn. Simic will play an island and then tap 1 mana for Slippery Boggle and pass the turn. I think Azorius got the better of those 2 second round plays. Azorius will spend 3 mana for Azorius Herald, gaining 4 life. Swinging with the Pride of Clouds, we do 1 damage flying and pass the turn. Simic will put down a forest, and then spend 2 mana on a morph creature face down. Then we'll tap 1 more mana for another Slippery Boggle. We will attack with the first Slippery Boggle and do 1 point of damage because Azorius chooses not to block. Azorius will put down a Plains, and then tapping 3 mana, put out Layev Sky Knight. At this point, we can detain a creature, but we didn't. We'll swing with Pride of Clouds, which is pumped to a 2/2, and the unblockable Azorius Herald, which also does 2 damage. Simic will untap. Simic will put down a forest. Simic will spend 2 mana for Applied Biomancy. We'll bounce the Layev Sky Knight, which makes the Pride of Clouds go down, and then we'll, using the other half, pump the Slippery Boggle to a 2/2. Moving to combat, we're going to swing with both Slippery Boggles and the morph creature. and we'll pass the turn. Azorius will untap. Azorius will put down an island. Then Azorius will attach Invocation of Saint Traff to the Pride of Clouds. Moving to combat, we'll swing with both of our creatures, which triggers the invocation, causing an angel to appear. We do 9 damage, which is lethal to Simic, and Azorius wins the third and final round. Azorius is the winner of this round of combat. Just a little bit of bookkeeping. I did the first and second battles, and then and that's exactly how they happened. You know, Azorius won the first one, Simic won the second one, and then when I went to record the third battle, the recording glitched out for some reason. I didn't get a recording of the third battle. So then I recorded a fourth battle, and I was praying like, man, I sure hope the same deck that wins the fourth battle, and sure enough, that happened. So Azorius technically won 3 out of 4 of those matches. So I really feel pretty strongly that Azorius is the better deck. I thought those morph creatures in the Simic deck could be interesting, because it kind of would, you know, cause... There was 2 of them. There was the Sagu Mauler and then an Icewind Aven, and I thought that would cause some confusion in the ranks. Also, I thought the Evolve trigger would be kind of cool in that deck, but it just... +1/+1 counters in such a fast meta is just too slow of a strategy. It just didn't work out. The next battle I feature is going to be Madness versus the Blue Flyers. And you might be thinking, man, he's named all of his decks versus colors or pairings, and Madness isn't one of those. And the reason for that is pretty simple. There's actually 2 decks in this competition that were not built the same way as the rest of the decks. The Madness deck, one of them, well, I'll talk about it next battle, and you'll get to see a little bit why I called it Madness. You probably can figure it out. Anyway, I sure appreciate you watching, and you have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. I do have a Patreon page, and I would love it if you would visit my page and take a look at the rewards that are available. It would help me out a lot. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell notification so you hear about my latest videos. Have a great day.